You will never out-earn what you believe you're worth. This podcast is for the woman that knows she's capable of more, that gets turned on by the conversations around savvy business, investments, earning more, receiving and holding more wealth, and sacrificing less. She also has a polite but present full body no to bro culture and hustle to attain these things. No more self-worth attached to fleeting cash highs. No more earning just to prove yourself to people whose lives you wouldn't trade. No more shaming money, debt, wealth, or anything financial. We're here to upgrade your relationship with money together. Let's increase your net worth and your self-worth from a place of feminine power and alignment. Welcome to the era that glorifies your bold moves and allows you to earn more by impacting more. Welcome to your Rich Bitch Era. Welcome to Rich Bitch Era. I'm going to have to get used to saying that because I'm so used to saying, welcome back to Wildly Empowered Women. And this is a very special episode because I am relaunching. It's a new podcast. There's a brand new flavor, a brand new message, and it is because we are in a new era. And I want to support you in that. And I want to support conversations around women making a lot of money and stepping into the richest, most powerful, highest potential self. And I'm so excited to be here. It has been a very hot minute between episodes. It's actually been over a year since my last episode. And I wanted to share the journey, share where I've been, share what I've been doing, share what Rich Bitch Era means to me, why the change, and a little bit about this new movement that I'm and the new direction that I'm going in, and what is in store for you. Because at the end of the day, podcasts should always be, surrounded or based on what is in it for the audience and the listener. So, what is the Rich Bitch Era? Why the change? Where do I begin? When I first started Wildly Empowered Women, my huge intention was to bring these amazing conversations that I was having on the daily with women that I really, really admired to a format that was digestible, with incredible guests, incredible topics, really empowering topics and conversations with wildly empowered women and for wildly empowered women. And I look back at the 80-something episodes that I've recorded, and I feel like I have done that. Like, we have discussed everything from, working with your cycles and women's health and hormones, all the way to, astrology and plant medicine, to business and money mindset. And I've had so many amazing business coaches and wealth coaches on the podcast as well. Also talking to things like content and personal branding and building an Instagram and everything in between. So there's been a wide array of topics that have felt very empowering on the podcast. It was very enjoyable to do that. And I've also had a lot of people from my own team and in my business on the podcast interviewed because they've had huge success and they have incredible stories. So that's also been like a very big part of the podcast as well. I had some feedback last year around the name and it being very closely, associated with my team's name, which is the Wildly Empowered Collective. And to me, it was hard for me to go, well, what would the podcast be? Because to me, the name was exactly what the podcast was. It was conversations for wildly empowered women and around the topics and the conversations that wildly empowered women would want to hear about, and want to hear from women that they would want to hear from as well. I took on the feedback and I was like, okay, well, it's very inherently who I am to want to empower women. And, that terminology I've been using for many, many, many years before it was sort of, a movement in my business as well. And so it took a while for me to go like, okay, if I step back, what would my podcast be about, where I can really actually lead from the front and make it more about me rather than just serving my team, which I do feel that this podcast will still do. It will still serve, not only my team, but a lot of other people within this company were using my podcast and really enjoying it too, which I want to continue to serve in that way. So I really went on this journey. I was like, okay, if I was going to niche in a little bit more, if I was going to be a bit more specific on topics, what would that be? What would that look like? And it's been such a beautiful gift for me to gain clarity on basically my own brand. And, of course, there's a season to really support my business and my team. And then there's also a season where I'm like, cool, if the invitation is there for me to, really look at where my brand is going, then this is a great time to do that. So I really sat with it. I actually sat with it for a very long time. Firstly, because I wasn't ready to move on from Wildly Empowered Women. I really wasn't. And it took a long time for me to go, okay, I'm ready to move on and actually look at a new name. And secondly, I was like, where am I going? What is my next, evolution in my own brand? And the topic that kept just rolling around in my mind was money, was really changing the conversation around money, around how we earn it, around the impacts that we get to create earning it, around our relationship with money, around our journey with our money mindset, around our conditioning with it. So much that I want to say and speak to on money. And so that sort of, that topic, and as you know, I love speaking on business and really empowering women to have financial independence and step into their potential and be able to monetize their potential. I was like, it has to be that. It has to be that topic. And so as I was, on this journey of really niching down and figuring out what the topic was going to be, I kept saying Rich Bitch. I kept saying Rich Bitch Era and all of the things. And then I have a list in my phone of about 20 different names for the podcast, and none of them were as powerful and as Jay-Z as Rich Bish, right? And so that is what is one. I also have a school community that I'm going to be opening up soon called Rich Bitch Academy. And then there'll be other Rich Bitch sort of, offerings under that umbrella as well. Because to me, what a Rich Bish is a woman that has fully stepped into claiming her worth and fully stepped into doing the work around actually stepping into her potential, earning a shit ton of money, not because of the actual money, but because of the impact and what that actually means. Because the more money you make, the more impact you've had to actually create that. So I also want to share my own journey around money mindset and around my relationship with money, because, you might hear the term rich bitch and it might bring some stuff up for you. It might bring up some feelings. It might bring up oh, that's not me, or that's not me yet, or we don't talk about money, or we don't call ourselves rich, or whatever it is, right? And I want to really ask you, what has your money mindset been? What has your relationship been around money? And what were you taught around money growing up? So to me, I started working on my money mindset when I was about 18. I didn't even realize that I was, but I was very driven, really wanted to, save and get ahead and buy a house. And, I was very driven. And one of the biggest, most impactful books that I read when I was about 18, 19 was Richest Man in Babylon. Absolute game changer of a book. And one thing that I learned in that book was, even when you have if you're working a job and you have a promotion and you start earning more, don't change your lifestyle. Don't automatically upgrade your lifestyle to this lavish lifestyle because you're earning an extra 20K more per month or something, right? And that really spoke to me. I was like, that's brilliant. Just live below your means so that you can consistently get ahead. Then in this, which I did, my husband and I, we actually bought our first property. I was aiming to buy a property by the time I was 21. And I said to my husband, you can either go in with me or I'm just going to buy it myself. It'll probably have to be in Tamworth if I buy it by myself. But, I would prefer to buy it with you. So, we can either go 50-50 or I'm going to do it anyway. And at the time he was in a lot of debt. He'd been partying and traveling and, driving from Canada to Mexico with all of his mates and, a bit of credit card debt. Anyway, we ended up doing it. We bought our first property when I think I was 21 or 22. in Sydney. And that book really encouraged me to really save. Like I wasn't going out and spending all my money on like fashion and partying and stuff. I still did party, but like a poor bitch, not a rich bitch at the time. And I was saving. And that was really the catalyst to, we bought a property when my son was 1, so 6.5 years ago. And we were able to knock it down, rebuild. We've just sold it. We're about to do it again, and really build our wealth in different ways. Why is this relevant? Because sometimes, and this is a really big topic I want to talk to, rich bitch moves aren't about the flashy things that you see. It's not about looking like you live this lavish lifestyle. It's not about wasting money on things that are not actually assets and not actually a long-term wealth strategy. Sometimes rich bitch moves are long-term moves, and they don't necessarily make you feel like a rich bitch at the time, right? Again, like buying the property with Vic, like, God, we were eating like pasta and rice and tuna to like save for our deposit for our house when we first started to save. And I didn't feel rich. I didn't feel wealthy. I didn't feel like we were, like living this lavish lifestyle, because we weren't, but we were getting ahead financially for the long term. And these are the conversations I want to have on this podcast around, what are you actually doing for your long-term wealth? What are the moves that you can make so that your money works for you, and also so that you can have a great relationship with money? There won't be advice on this podcast. There won't be, any suggestions. It's all conversations with professionals who can give you, and also my own experience, who can give you their own experiences and stories around what they've done in their life. So I want to just read out some statements and see how these feel in your body. Money is an amplifier. Money is an enabler. Money is a co-creator. Money is beautiful. What did you feel in your body when I said those things? Where did you feel it? Because our relationship with money, our conditionings around money, what we believe around money, our thoughts around money, they all play out in our life and in our finances. And if you think that money is evil, if you think that you're not worthy of money, if you think that money is going to break up relationships or bring chaos into your life, then it's likely that that's going to happen, because that's what you are linking money with, versus money being a co-creator, an amplifier, an enabler, a co-partner with you. You will never out-earn what you believe you are worth. I love this statement. You will never out-earn what you believe you are worth. So if you can't get above a certain amount of money in your bank account or in your life, or that you get paid, or that you, have on your credit card, even like you can't get below what you owe on your credit card, you just keep getting the balance up to that, then it's likely you need to do a little bit of work around your money mindset and around your worth, right? Because that is a really big indicator of where you sit in terms of what you believe you are capable of and you are worthy of receiving. And receiving is something that I've spoken a lot about in this podcast, around receiving in every area of your life, not just monetarily. Yes, it obviously plays a huge part in what you receive financially, but if you can receive compliments, support, help, all of the things, then of course you're going to be able to receive money easier. And not just receive money, but also learn to hold it. Also learning to hold, the capacity of holding, receiving and holding, receiving and not letting it just slip through your fingers. Maybe you have learned to receive large amounts of money, but maybe that money very quickly is allocated to different things. And maybe that money has a home very, very quickly. Maybe the money doesn't even land in your account for very long before you feel obligated to, hand it out to people, or to pay things off, or to put it in other places, instead of learning to really receive and hold. That's been a really big part of my journey, is not just the receiving, but the holding as well. So that is a little bit about the podcast and the direction we are going, because you get to step into your Rich Bitch era. You get to learn about what feels good for you, making these moves that are rich, bitch, bold, badass moves, right? In your business, in your life, in your finances, in a way that's going to really amplify what your vision is. So when I said before, money is an amplifier, I love this statement because a lot of people see money as, they have grown up seeing it as evil or greedy or all of the things, right? When you have money, it amplifies who you are. So if you're a greedy asshole, it's going to amplify that, right? There are plenty of rich people who are not good people. There are also plenty of rich people who contribute, who give back, who are just hugely positive influences in this society, because it amplifies who you are at your core. So I want to really challenge you on, what would money amplify in your life? Would it amplify the way that you're able to contribute to your family? Would it amplify just you being able to be in your joy? Would it amplify you being able to do what you love out of contribution and passion rather than necessity to pay the bills? Would it amplify the amount of charity work that you could do? Would it amplify a bigger vision that you have outside of your own family and your own life? What would it amplify for you? Because the more you see money as an amplifier, and the more that you see it as a co-creator and how you can create more in this world and in this life and as your legacy, the more reasons you're giving money to land with you, because money does need a home. You can, even if that home is receiving it and learning to hold it in your bank account, the more reasons you give yourself to actually receive money, the more homes it has to feel safe, the more you're going to receive it. So we're going to talk on all of these topics. We're going to talk about a lot of things to do with money, a lot to do with your relationship with it, guests that have a lot of, value and wisdom to share in these topics, and also your own questions. So I'm going to answer a question or ask the guest a question from every single episode from you. So I want to see you in my inbox, in the podcast inbox, Rich Bitch podcast inbox. I want to hear your questions. What are your burning questions around money? What do you want help with? What question do you have around, your savings or your financial goals, or what you're earning in your business, or what you want to receive, or your biggest block in receiving? Like, ask the questions that you think probably are only relevant to you. I can absolutely promise you there are other people out there that will benefit from hearing the answer as well. So slide into the podcast DMs, ask your questions, and it may be me answering it. It might be a really amazing guest that's more qualified and even more, experienced to answer and support you on these topics as well. I also think it's great timing that I am relaunching this, and it just is the way that the world, like my life has happened. It's really beautiful. And like in hindsight, I'm like, oh, of course, like this is not even the timing that I expected or planned, but it has just so happens that I am launching this podcast around the time of having my very first 100K month, which has been huge for me. I've been working towards my first six-figure month for many years. And it happened in the month of March, and I happened to be offline in that month as well. So I was offline. I'm now guiding a whole bunch of people, 150 people actually, through a week of being offline, and really believing and feeling into how they can do that and how they can run a business without having to be on social media. So without having to be on Instagram or Facebook, particularly all of these people run businesses from social media. So it's been so beautiful to showcase to them the systems, the delegation, the outsourcing that can happen to really have really solid systems in place while you have a break. Because if your business relies solely on you, that is not a freedom business. That's a job. If you can't take a break, that is not a efficient and like resourceful business, that's one that really lives or dies with your own effort. And that is not what we're here for. We're here for impact, yes, but also leverage, time leverage and freedom. So I had my first 100K month while I had almost 2 months offline, which was just so beautiful. I loved being offline. And then when I came back, I was so excited to get back into things. And I was so excited to share, what I'd been doing and what had come through. And a lot of that was the podcast and getting things in place for that. So got a lot planned for the podcast. There's been a really big shift myself in my own money mindset. Having my first 100K month has not come, out of coincidentally. It has come from the years of work that I've put into my business, but also into my money mindset and also into receiving and worthiness and so much work that I've done. I also had to, and I shared this on the post that I did about, having my first 100K month. I also had to do a lot of work on shame because I had some debt from, in the next episode, I'll go into what got us into a little bit of debt last year. But a lot of the 100K, I knew that my first 100K month would be the neutralizer. I knew that it would be the month that would help to pay off a lot of the debt that we needed to pay off. So I didn't have 100K sitting in the bank. I had 100K move through my business, like in commissions in that month. And so there was a lot that I even worked through on not feeling shame around debt. And I love Amanda Francis talks about debt. And she says, debt is just the decision that you've made to pay something off over time. Why do we shame debt? That's just a decision that you've made to pay something off over time. And so I went through a lot of my own releasings and sort of moved through a lot that month in receiving that, and also knowing that there is so much abundance yet to come. There's even more impact for me to make. There's even more women out there that I want to show how to do a 100K month without even making a sale. That was all indirect or passive or rank advancement bonuses, all of the things that came through my business. And then the following month, I should add it up, but the end of that month, I had a 30K day. So I probably would have had like a 50, 60K month the following month as well. So I am in an era where I want to learn more about money myself. I want to be really, really resourceful and really smart with my money so that it can earn more for me. I'm not out here to have a really, lavish lifestyle where I want to just like spend all my money on a lifestyle and then have nothing to show for my success. I'm here to really build my net worth and my assets and my long-term wealth. And that's what I want to really instill as I'm learning about that myself as well. And also not bypass the celebration, of what you've created and what you are creating. I really celebrated my 100K month. I really celebrated going legacy. I did this beautiful photo shoot, and which has now become part of the photos for the podcast, which originally there was going to be a photo shoot for the fact that I went legacy, a rank where, you really have created a big legacy and a lot of passive income that you get paid for life in the company that I'm with. And I did this photo shoot, and again, like great timing. And of course, in hindsight, it has ended up being around the time that I wanted to relaunch this podcast. So, and all of this was happening while I was offline, like all of it. So a lot of magic can happen while you are offline and while you are not in someone else's life, scrolling someone else's life, but actually in your own, and actually in your own creativity and creating from a place of what is alive for you, what is really true for you, what is alive for you, which is why it means so much to share this all with you and share, where this new direction has come from and the name and all of the things, because it's so alive for me. It's so my era and the era that I'm in. And I talk about this a lot with personal branding, that don't get too attached to one version of you, because that's going to change as you evolve, as you grow. Your personal brand is going to evolve and change, and mine has grown and evolved and changed. And it's really exciting to say I was in my wildly empowered woman era, and I love that era. I love that version. I love the episodes on this podcast so much. I am in awe of the guests on here. We've had so much wisdom and truth and empowering conversations on here. And I'm also so excited for the Rich Bitch Era and to really bring you on this journey and help you to earn more, create more, impact more, and really grow more in your relationship with money and in your worthiness around money as well. So I'm excited for what's to come. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Please slide into the DMs of the podcast Instagram with your feedback, but also with any questions or topics or even guests that you would love to hear on the podcast. And if you would like to have some time offline, I have actually created a little mini course. So I'll pop the link to that in the show notes. And I look forward to being with you on this journey. I'm really excited for what's to come. I'm so excited to be back. I'm really excited to hear from you. And thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really love hearing how much, the other conversations we've had on this podcast have impacted you and helped you. And I really like my biggest goal is that this continues to do the same and that this also helps you in your next era to really step up into your potential and, earn your worth and impact at your absolute highest level. So thank you so much for being here. Share this episode, tag me in your stories, and I will see you in the next one.